Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Fangio Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. So much to get into today, but it's a day that is odd a little bit. Well, first, happy October, by the way, October 1st. There you go. It's an odd day because I feel like we are sitting on a pressure cooker right now. A.J. Brown is supposed to address the media today or tomorrow. Usually he speaks the first day of locker room availability to the media. Then the next day, that's usually when Devontae Smith addresses the media. But A.J. Brown could very well talk today. I would love to know, what's the point of letting people know that something's off? I'm not saying something's wrong. I'm not saying he's angry. I'm just saying that when you put something out, to this effect, quoting the Bible, and you're talking about walking away when people aren't welcoming you, when people aren't listening to you, don't make a scene. You're making a scene. By putting this out there, you're making a scene. By telling the media there's a problem and then not acknowledging the problem, that's a problem. You're letting people know something's off. You're letting people know something's wrong. And you're not giving details. So that leaves the speculation. And if you don't think that matters, then let's go back to when he iced out the media and didn't talk for 2.5 weeks. And then everybody speculated and all the negative energy was out there in the air. I'd rather him just address the issue head on. And if he's doing that behind closed doors, great. Nick Sirianni spoke earlier in the week, talked about how he's got a great relationship with A.J. Brown, and they talk all the time, every day, blah, blah. Kevin Patullo addressed the media yesterday. He said the same thing. Oh, I got a great relationship with A.J. We're good. Everything's fine. Even defended him when it came to running more than just 2 routes. I know my friend and colleague, Derek Gunn, was saying the same thing on post-game with Setruiner and I on Sunday. He runs 2, he runs a go ball and runs a slant. What else does he do? That kind of thing. Jason Avant was out there, I believe it was on postgame on NBC, saying that he is being covered as if he can't run anymore. A.J. Brown's being covered like he can't run anymore. Well, I've seen situations where he's been open, and I've seen Jalen Hurts miss him. I went over a couple of them yesterday. Now, there were instances within those plays that I described as forced throws on the mistake of Jalen Hurts, not A.J. Brown. But the deep ball, that 2nd and 3, and he missed him in one-on-one coverage, that was a Jalen Hurts miss. There was another one, 2nd and 7, that was well covered to the sideline. It would have been a really tough throw, but I don't think there was a prayer that throw was going to get made. There was another play with Devontae Smith where he's open and wide open in the middle of the field, and he threw the ball downfield to A.J. Brown. Again, forcing the issue. Now, those are situations you can certainly say some situations out of those that you could say he didn't have the separation. One in particular, I know he had the separation and it was missed. And I described it yesterday as almost more of a tease where, yeah, sure, he's targeted 9 times, but of those 9 times, maybe 3, 4 were like legit chances to get the football. So you're seeing the ball come your way and go, here we go. No, we don't, as it sails over your head. But Kevin Patullo said that all's right with A.J. Brown. We're going to get on the same page as an offense. Everything's going to be fine in that regard. All positive. But my question today, if you're talking to A.J. Brown, is why? Why even, if you're not going to address what the problem is publicly, why make the problem public? That is my question. Because, and this is speaking for someone that would love to see A.J. Brown stay. I still think he's a phenomenally talented wide receiver. I always tell you guys, numbers never lie, but they sure as hell deceive. The numbers would dictate that A.J. Brown stinks now, and he's just terrible. 100-yard game so far this year, and then everything else, putrid. That would tell you that he sucks. Well, that's not the case. I do not believe in the least that that's the case now. This offense has lacked fluidity. It's lacked consistency. It has certainly not played 4 quarters of football. We had to wait, 3 games to get a passing touchdown? That's pretty terrible. That's real terrible, as a matter of fact. So something else. So I look forward to hearing, because I do want to hear more from him. I don't want to hear, I'm not going to give you that because I'm going to give you a story. And then I don't want to give you a story. You're giving a story anyway. Whether it's you talking or it's you putting something out there that leaves everyone else to speculate and take their best guess at what the problem is. Are you mad at Jalen? Are you mad at KP? Are you mad at the whole team? Are you just, upset that you're not contributing as much as you'd like to contribute? First week of the season, he talks about not getting a participation trophy for blocking well. He doesn't like that. Okay, fine. But I want to know what the problem is. We all want to know what the problem is. And I very much doubt that at any point, A.J. Brown's going to stand there at his locker on a media availability and say anything to the effect of, yeah, well, I'm upset because Jalen sucks. Do you see those throws he was trying to force into me in the second half against Tampa? That guy, come on. He sucked. That ain't going to happen. Kevin Patullo's an idiot. He's not going to say that. He might be more general about it and just say, yeah, we can't find that rhythm as an offense. And I know I can help this team win. Devontae Smith knows he can help this team win. And right now, we're not doing everything we can to help this team win. You know how these games have been close? You know how we're fighting for our lives every single one of these games? Hey, come to me more often. Come to Smitty more often, because that's what some people leave that out, by the way. A.J. Brown doesn't just get pissed about A.J. Brown's numbers. I mean, I'm sure he does. And yeah, pretty sure he does. He does. But he also gets pissed when other guys aren't getting used. For instance, I believe it was against the Minnesota Vikings 3 years ago. Second game of the season around there. AJ's on the sidelines, and he's very animated. And everyone jumps to the conclusion, myself included, by the way, that he was upset about targets, that he wasn't getting targeted enough in the game. To the point, I think he had 1 or 2 targets at most, and this is in the third quarter. And you can see he's animated on the sidelines. Well, he comes out there afterwards. He goes, I know everyone says this was about targets. It was just at a media availability after the week after the game. Not after the game, the week in the locker room at the NovaCare complex about what his attitude was. It wasn't about touches. So, and I believe him. So what was it about? I think it was about overall fluidity of the passing game and how Devontae Smith wasn't getting involved. Dallas Goedert wasn't getting involved. Jalen wasn't seeing these guys. Guys are open, trying to make plays. And this is still in the days of Shane Steichen, let's remember. And nothing was working. I believe he'll take it up for the entire receivers core, more so than he'll take it up for just himself. I think it's got to be a number of things. Go back to the game where he talked about it after the Carolina Panthers game. Passing. We got to talk about passing. We're talking about the passing game. What needs to be worked on? Passing. I don't think that was just about him. I think that was also about Devontae Smith. I think it was also about Jalen Hurts, certainly. I think it was about I don't know if he looks at it enough to notice the offensive line being so out of rhythm, but I think it's all-encompassing. I don't think it's just about him. And I know a lot of people want to put it on. So that's where a lot of people will go about the diva. That's where I won't agree with it, because I don't think it's just about him. I think he does have a greater concern for the overall well-being of this team's offense, and specifically the passing game. So if he addresses the media today or tomorrow, I'm waiting with bated breath to see how he comes out, the attitude about it, and if he does shine any more light on this, because we're watching. I mean, look, Eagles fans aren't morons. They're watching this going, first half against the Rams, nothing. Second half the Rams, great. First half against the Buccaneers, awesome. Second half against the Buccaneers, terrible. We noticed that this isn't going well. We noticed that this isn't an offense for 4 quarters asserting their will like they should when they have Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and a Super Bowl MVP quarterback in Jalen Hurts. That should make you go, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. There's 2 things that I think have greatly impacted how this Philadelphia Eagles offense has played. Now, here's what's so crazy about this. The Eagles this year are 29th in yards as an offense. They're 31st in passing yards as an offense. They're middle of the road. They're middle of the road when it comes to rushing yards. This is with Saquon Barkley and, by the way, Jalen Hurts scampering at times. This offense does not look good, but somehow they are 7th. They are a top 7 team in the NFL in points scored. Top 7! Again, 29th in yards overall, 31st in passing, middle of the road in 15th in rushing. 7th in points. How does that even happen? How do you even, where you, well, I'll tell you one thing, great field position. Thanks defense. Thanks turnovers. And that's the other part of it too. Only 3 teams in football have more turnovers or have a better turnover differential than the Philadelphia Eagles. Only 3 teams. Eagles and Lions are tied for like the 4th most. They both are at a +4. So that also helps. Your field goals, by the way, that we'll get into with Vic Fangio going crazy on that yesterday. That was awesome. Field goals, Jake Elliott. I hate the nickname Jake the Make, but he's been making them. Yeah, he's been pretty good. And you've been getting great field position, so that certainly has helped you. Oh, and as a defense, you're still pretty good at stopping the opponent, even though you're still around 22 points per game, I believe you're allowing. So there are issues surrounding this football team. But when you look at the 2 reasons why, as an offense, you're struggling, I think it has to do, yes, absolutely, with a rookie offensive coordinator, a rookie play caller that's never done this before, obviously. And he's trying to find how you're supposed to have any sort of an advantage when you face Matt Eberflus, Steve Spagnuolo, Mike Shula, I believe it is, of the Rams, and now Mike Shula, obviously that's the code you're supposed to be able to crack, and they eventually did in the second half, which is good. And then also going up against Todd Bowles, who was giving you fits. I believe number 1, Kevin Patullo, and then right there, even forget about number 2, but like 1A, there's no way in hell you can tell me that this offensive line is 100% healthy. First, let's get past the obvious. Lane Johnson, stinger, 2 weeks ago against the Rams. Also banged up in this game here against the Buccaneers. Barely plays. Actually, what was his snap? I'll get a snap count for you. But it felt like he was barely out there. And you just see him out there on the sidelines just reeling in the heat. Oh, did not look fun. I saw my friend Devin Caney put it out there, the on-field temperature, like 103. That's not fun. That is not what I would call ideal. But you can't tell me that this offensive line is healthy between Lane Johnson, between Matt Pryor coming in, Tyler Steen going out, Tyler Steen coming in, Pryor coming in for those 5 snaps, and then Pryor just being out there for a little bit more than a half against the Rams. And then Landon Dickerson has just been a problem. He does not look 100% healthy. Cam Jurgens, I question that as well. But Landon Dickerson, to me, has been far off from the Pro Bowl level, one of the best left guards in all of football level that we have seen him play at in recent history. That's a huge concern to me. Seeing guys just bounce right around him, dip right around him, swim move right around him, and get to Jalen Hurts or get to Saquon Barkley, that is a ginormous problem that the Eagles have right now. And I don't know where it comes from in terms of solving it. I don't know if he needs a bye week. I don't know if he needs to sit out a game, or I don't know if this is anything that needs to be anything that could get worse the more he plays. The other side of that, and I know a lot of people talking about that. Well, can I make it any worse by playing? Well, no. But you're also not going to make it better by playing. So I don't know what direction the Eagles going. Drew Kendall has barely been able to be active, if he's been active at all this year. Their rookie pickup. Two things I look at in this offense: offensive line and who's calling the plays. It's lacked a lot of, as I'll say it again, fluidity in this Eagles offense. And again, you go over the numbers I just went over, and he's just like, well, hey, hold on a second. What are they ranked there? That there, and they're 7th in points. How does that make any sense? By the way, Lane Johnson was out there against the Bucks, for 75% of the snaps. So no excuses in that regard. All right, let's get into what Kevin Patullo had to say about all this. First thing that KP got into, he was asked about, obviously what went wrong in the second half against the Buccaneers. I told you guys yesterday that it's a mad scientist type of thing with Todd Bowles. There's no way you're going to go into halftime and then come out with the same exact type of offensive output that you had in the first half. Todd Bowles going to make adjustments. Todd Bowles going to do something. Simulated pressure was a bit of a buzzword yesterday at the press conference. But Kevin Patullo yesterday was asked about what went wrong in that second half.
How did he do?
Nope, that's not him, obviously. Here we go.
I think, similar to last year, early in season.
Hold on, I'll get to it. Here it is.
I wouldn't say that was the issue.
There it is. Okay. Simulated pressure, by the way. Simulated pressure, an issue for the Eagles in the second half.
I wouldn't say that was the issue. We couldn't get out of first down, and obviously that starts with us as a staff to try to make sure we're more productive on first down and just kind of go from there. I wouldn't say there's anything that they did to us necessarily that was totally different or out of line with what Todd likes to do. We just got caught in situations where he could start to do the things that he likes to do. And in the first half, we were able to not really encounter that because we were on the attack and we got in a good mood to where we were just kind of moving the ball in a good flow.
Yeah. Starting out in the second half with 3 straight 3-and-outs. That ain't great. Getting caught in the backfield on 2, your first 2 plays in the second half. Also not great. That's what he's talking about, especially when you're sending more pressure on a 2nd and 13 on Jalen Hurts. Yeah, that's not going to bode well as well. Next thing you know, you go back to 3rd and 22. This is your first possession out of the second half. So they were doing something. Yeah, you lose your yardage on first down. Even if you're just handing the ball to Saquon Barkley trying to make something happen, you're walking right. You're putting yourself perfectly in the position that Todd Bowles wants you in. Are you going to be in a guaranteed passing down? Yeah, we're going to send some pressure. Or we're going to simulate that pressure and make things speed up a little bit for Jalen Hurts. It was like that throughout the second half. And it's also interesting that one turnover, similarly to the first half against the Rams, your only successful drive was great field position set up by a turnover. Great field position set up by the Zach Bond interception on Matthew Stafford. You punch that in for a touchdown. And then this one, I think that was the interception by Baker Mayfield that allowed you to get the tush-push sweep across there for the Eagles. That's an issue. That is a problem. Or excuse me, it was after the fumble. That was the fumble. The first one was the fumble. That gave you great field position, and you're able to punch that in. You got the ball around the 25-yard line. So yeah, that's pretty good. So they got to figure it out, and I don't know how they figure it out. And the other thing is, I've never really liked the. I know what people mean when they talk about an offense's identity. And I've talked about this a lot before. Like the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs, my biggest thing was that this Eagles team had no identity. The identity they had was the only one that matters, which is winner. They're a winner. That's the only thing that mattered. Run team, pass team, doesn't matter. Defensive juggernaut, didn't matter. They just won football games and won 6 of them pretty convincingly that year. So I don't really care much about identity. I do believe in a bread and butter. No matter what we're doing, this is going to work. No matter what the defense is doing, we can go to this. It's going to work. Now, last year, that was Saquon Barkley. We can impose our will in our run game. This year, it's not there. Saquon says, hit the hole harder or faster. He says, get his shoulders square to the line. All that's great, too. Yeah, let's see that. But the other thing is, I just don't see this offensive line playing at the level that they played at last year. That's another big part of it. Also, the formations. We got into this a little bit yesterday. I agree with this. I've heard this throughout the season. I heard Ray Dininger say this recently as well. Just the amount of times the Eagles are running 12 personnel is insane. How many times? And they run that a lot. They ran it a lot last year too, but also 13 personnel. They have that many guys that close to the ball. That is the exact opposite of the spread offense. Now everyone's right there to possibly make a play. You're creating more traffic. You're creating more traffic for Saquon Barkley to get through. Now, true, if he gets through it, then as he puts it, it's finito. He's gone. See you later. But we haven't seen that this year. We've seen 2-yard gain, 3-yard gain. Wow, a 9-yard run. Wow. That's not the Saquon that we saw even close to last year. That's not the offensive line that we saw last year. And this is where you start talking about scheming, because I believe Kevin Patullo could be a roadblock to the run game a hell of a lot more than he could be a roadblock to the passing game. Because, again, it's not like guys aren't wide open. Like, there are plays that Jalen Hurts just misses. And people talk about route concepts. Yeah, okay. You know what would help that? Spread the guys out a little bit. But when he is calling a formation that has everybody there at the line of scrimmage, allowing them to stack the box just by not even with the intention of, but just trying to D up their receiver, those guys are right there to make tackles. Spread it out a little bit. If I could ask for anything in this Broncos game, I would love to see the offense spread out a little bit more throughout this game. And then I'd love to see Saquon Barkley be able to run the football against a more spread out defense, as guys obviously got to go out there and cover people. Instead of bringing them all into the line, let me see that a little bit more where you're spreading things out. Let me see that a little bit more. I would love to see that. Oh, by the way, I even mentioned this from the offensive line standpoint last year. Tyler Steen has been, I think, okay, but Mekhi Becton was awesome. And you're really missing somebody being awesome at that position. And I know Steen got a lot of reps in training camp and got a lot of praise from Jeff Stoutland. And specifically, I think the way he put it was, the guy I've seen the most growth from is Tyler Steen, because things I'd asked him to do last year, he's just doing now. Like, I don't have to ask him, hey, could you don't forget to do this? Hey, remember to do that. No, he's just going out there and he's doing it. But when you look at the offensive line or you look at the run game struggling as much as it has, I mean, it's a group effort in being bad, unfortunately. And with Saquon Barkley as your running back, as dominant as he was last year, I don't think it was workload from last year. I don't think we've gotten to a point this season where it's been, well, clearly Saquon's just tired. No, I don't think that's it. Clearly he's just fatigued. No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's and I was the one throughout the offseason banging the drum, 482 touches, regular season, postseason combined. That's a lot. But I don't think it's that now. I think that would rear its ugly head more at the earliest start of the second half of the season. Certainly not through your first 4 games. So that makes me more concerned about overall health. That makes me of the offensive line. That makes me concerned about overall creativity or efficiency of the play calling. That's more so what it makes me concerned about. Now, this is, again, where we get into the identity. I don't buy into this, but, yeah, there's no clear-cut identity that the Eagles have right now in terms of a bread and butter where they just go to this. A slant to A.J. Brown, a slant to Devontae Smith, go ball to Devontae Smith, the rub route to Dallas Goedert. Really haven't seen that much this year. And then also running the football. What's the offense's identity through the first 4 games of the season?
I think, similar to last year, early in seasons, you're trying to figure out, first, you're trying to do what you have to do to win the game, right? And we've played 4 teams, arguably, like if you looked at last year, you would say, okay, the Chiefs was a tough test for us. The Rams was a tough test twice last year. And then this past week, obviously Tampa, throughout the history against Tampa, it's not been easy down there, right? It's been tough. So we've had our moments against them. So I think you're trying to do everything you can independently within those game plans to win the game. And so when you're doing that, you're trying to feel your way through it. Like, okay, last week it was this week it was that. And so I think we're starting to feel some things that we have kind of going that's kind of flowed throughout a few games now. And so I think it's just building on that, because each defense in each week presents something totally new. And this week we're playing another really good defense, top tier, really good front rushers. The secondary is good. So I think there's some things we've learned that, like, okay, this is a little different than last year, or, we're kind of continuing on this path, so let's push this a little bit. But I think you just got to look at each game independently, and then you start to see patterns as you start to build throughout the season. And it's great that it's happening now, and not later. And we're playing these tough defenses now to kind of figure this out as we go.
One of the things I'd said going into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game is I'm almost happy you're going up against Todd Bowles, and you had already faced Steve Spagnuolo, for instance. And you've already faced Matt Eberflus, who you had history with, obviously. But you already faced these teams that will like to get up in your face, that like to give pressure, that like to do all that. Yeah, it was a good walk-up moment, I'll say that. Good ramp-up moment to play a guy like Todd Bowles. And, yeah, overall, it worked. You won the football game. But now what are you going to do once you got those guys out of the way? What's the move now? How much have you gotten better through facing those first 4 guys through your first 4 games as a offensive coordinator and play call? How much better will you be? The people talk about all the time about the way preseason is now. Well, he got that under his belt, calling plays in the preseason, although it's not for Jalen Hurts, it's not for A.J. Brown, it's not for Saquon Barkley, but he got that underway. So good. Now you got 4 games, another preseason, you want to call it that, as some people will refer to it. Now you got it with your starters. Is that enough to work out the kinks? Is that enough to understand, okay, what's our identity here? Because this year it's just not as easy as, all right, go Saquon Barkley. All right, look, 70-yard touchdown, we're saved. But it ain't that easy. Go ball to A.J. Brown, go ball to Devontae Smith. The Dallas Goedert crossing route was, talk about a bread and butter. There are so many instances against the Saints, for instance. There's another one against the Ravens. Just that is a bread and butter play for Jalen Hurts, and I feel like I've barely seen that this year. And I don't see the defense is doing anything drastically different. And that's another short route, by the way, that in a blitzing situation where you got the pressure in your face, you got a guy right there that can make a play for you. Barely have seen that. You want to talk about startup costs for rookies? You want to talk about startup costs with no preseason? Well, I'll apply it to Kevin Patullo. But I saw a little bit coming out of the shell in this game against the Bucs. We've talked about the shovel passes. We talked about the tush-push sweep. I love that's probably my new favorite name for anything. With Saquon Barkley. Little wrinkles and things. Now, the Eagles have added wrinkles to the tush-push before, but nothing that was as drastic or worked as well as that Saquon Barkley touchdown run. That was great. That was executed to perfection. I thought it was a great play call as well. Whenever they line up in the tush-push, I always wonder, is this going to be something different? Is this where they're going to catch him off guard? I'm still waiting. I'd love to see a bomb down the field. That kind of, oh man, that'd be amazing. Or, you get another run like that with Saquon Barkley. Let's say you're tush pushing at the 45-yard line. That's a play, the opponent's 45-yard line. That's a play that looks like Saquon could just run for the rest of the day. So I'd love to see continuing to build. Now, the problem, again, is that second half. And when you couldn't get anything going, how do you help your offense get out of it? And also, look, if I'm going to praise Jalen Hurts for as many times as he's checked out of plays and the Eagles have scored touchdowns, or if I'm going to praise Jalen Hurts for checking out of a play to go to a run with Saquon and he breaks one wide open for 50 or whatever, then I also have to put some blame on him when I say he comes to the line of scrimmage, looks up and goes, don't know what to do with this one. And it seems like more often than not against Todd Bowles, that's what happens. He gets to the line of scrimmage, and that play he has, that audible, that check down that he has in his back pocket, he looks at it and goes, I don't know if that one's going to work with this. Here goes nothing. Especially when you talk about that simulated pressure from Todd Bowles in the second half. So that was from Kevin Patullo yesterday. Nothing else really jumped out to me significantly. I told you about the A.J. Brown stuff. Yes, there we go. Still trying to find what they do well. That's something to me that is just that really makes my ears bleed, because these guys all know each other. There's a counter to that because they all know each other, the defenses also know, like, this isn't a new brand of offense. The defense knows A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Okay, we know what we have to do against those guys. So the Eagles adjusting to the adjustments has to be tough. And Kevin Patullo adjusted to the adjustments when never having to adjust to adjustments. That's all right. That can be difficult. But yeah, everything's good with AJ. They asked him to do a little bit more in this game against the Bucs. Just didn't work out. He's got a great relationship with AJ, and they're trying to find a rhythm as an offense. Now for the defense. All right. I thought Keely Ringo was hot garbage in this game against the Bucs. Adoree Jackson's not good either. Keely Ringo was eating stiff arm sandwiches in this game. Bucky Irving was giving him the business behind the line of scrimmage. And if you remember, in the preseason against the Bengals, Keely Ringo was there to make a play on Jamar Chase on more than one occasion, but just didn't make the tackle. And Vic Fangio even said, I didn't have a problem with the coverage. I had a problem with the tackle. Like, you're going to get beat by wide receivers. There's going to be a half step, a step, whatever, where they get on you and they're going to make that play, especially if you're talking about Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. But when the tackle is there to be made and you just whiff on the tackle, or you don't tackle by the book, you're not able to form tackle, still the rule of thumb is get after the ankles. Or if you're Seth Joyner, break a femur. Love when he says that. But in this case, there were a lot of bad attempts at arm tackling and tackling up high. And this was Vic Fangio yesterday when asked about Keely Ringo and how he did against the Bucs. My opinion, trash. Vic Fangio's opinion?
Thought he did good. I mean, he can be better.
That was surprising to me. He goes on.
Thought he did good. I mean, he can be better. The true test for him will be to see how he improves. But overall, did good.
Would you like to keep him there even when Adorie's healthy?
It's possible.
What did you like about his performance, and what areas did you see for improvement?
He was pretty sticky in man coverage. Like to see his tackling improve. You know, one thing a guy has to learn that has played predominantly special teams is tackling on defense is a lot different than tackling in special teams. So, but I'm confident he can improve that.
I mean, no particular area did I really think he excelled at in this game. And a guy had a red carpet rolled out to him as the favorite. He's the draft pick. He's the in-house guy. He had experience already under Vic Fangio. And it felt like by the second week of training camp, it was like, this is Adoree Jackson's job, and make a trade, please. Corey and Bennett, come on down. That ain't good. And now all of a sudden, now he plays special teams. I do agree it is different. You're not running up with a full head of steam, to make all these plays as a defensive back. You're doing that certainly as a special teams player. But you talk about how Keely Ringo came out of training camp and just was like third on the depth chart. And now all of a sudden he's being propelled into first. And mainly not because of skill or because he's excelled. Two guys ahead of him got hurt. That's the only way he has shot himself into the number one spot on the depth chart. Saying he played good, I was surprised to hear that answer from Vic Fangio, especially when tackling was a huge part of the issue. So that I don't so much agree with. Now, a 65-yarder, where was that? In Dallas? 65-yarder with the Buccaneers. I thought of Dallas because Aubrey is who Vic Fangio referenced later in this bit I'm about to play for you. But yeah, 65-yarder in Tampa. Jake Elliott's got 2 58-yarders this year. Guys are just going absolutely bananas with kicking field goals. Unsolicited. This is the way this came out. I'll set the scene for you. Zach Berman asked a question about potentially when Sean Payton took over in Denver, Vic Fangio going back to Denver as a defensive coordinator where he was once the head coach. He was like, yeah, no, not happening. And then just kind of called Zach. He said, Zach, you're trying to be I'll say poop stirrer, trying to stir it up a little bit. And he goes, but I'll tell you the story you've been missing. And that's where he goes on this rant about the new kicking balls in the NFL.
You know what you guys have missed, not just you, but everybody, is, we gave up a 65-yard field goal and a 58-yard field goal. These kicking balls that they changed this year have drastically changed the kicking game, field goals in particular. So it's almost like they need an asterisk here, like it was the live ball era, or the asterisk for those home runs Bonds and Sosa and McGuire were hitting. The way they've changed the ball, the NFL, the kicking ball, has drastically changed the field goals.
Is the shape different?
No, the kicking balls, and you can ask Clay about it when he gets in here, but in years past, the officials would rub them down, or other people would rub them down, and you play with them. Now the balls are in-house all week, and they kick those balls that they've had, and nobody else touches them.
Somebody's got to touch the balls, man. Somebody's got to touch the balls. What kind of world are we living in if you're not going out there and touching the balls? They're the same ball. It's all about how they're using them. Like, I remember NFL Network did a story on this years ago, or NFL Films did a story on this years ago, where it was like the K balls, like they had the special emblem with the K on it for the kicker balls and all that stuff. and they were in their own separate bag. They're treated totally different. They were allowed to go to the spa. I don't know, but now it's just these balls that are handled in a way that they could just be boomed more than ever. And he brought up Brandon Audrey in Dallas, saying that guy's going to kick a 70-yarder. Like, book it. He's going to nail a 70-yarder with these. I am noticing the teams are a hell of a lot more brazen this year when it comes to their approach in the field goal. And I find that fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And I think there was only one person maybe in the NovaCare complex that's being like, hey, can you shh? And that's probably Jake Elliott. I also took it away when he said talk to Michael about it. He meant Michael Clay, and he acknowledged the difference in how they're handling the kicker balls this year. But he also said that Vic Fangio always teases him that when Vic Fangio retires, he's going to become a special teams coach, which I did find amusing. So, yeah, make of that what you will. But they're handling it different, and Vic thinks it is very much affecting the way they do things. Ugh. There you go. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS and get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how we're doing today. Rye, good morning, Rye. F. Dallas, long live Jerry Jones. That's the way to start the morning. Tate, good morning. Hello. Sean Kilrain, hello. Hertz, 40-8 with A.J. Brown in his career. Just going to put it out there. Zip it, A.J. in play. We know it's Patullo. You're 4-0. I got what you're saying. There you go. Yeah, we know it's Patullo, not you, A.J. We know you're still great. By the way, that is amazing. 40-8 with A.J. Brown. And 18-0 in his last 18 completed starts. That's pretty amazing. Michael Stone, he needs to unleash the offense. They are more capable to score the whole game. Let them loose. Michael, I agree. Oh, how about that for the Phillies? Phillies have the open practice today. 27,000 tickets for an inter-squad game. They say it ain't a baseball town. Come on. Rye Fangio's press conference was golden. Ailsa Miller, hello. Happy Red October. That's right. It is officially Red October. There we go. Sean Kilrain, Eagles need to get their offense figured out fast. Broncos defense is the real deal. They are the real deal. Absolutely the real deal. But the Broncos lead the NFL in sacks with 15. QB hits 41. Pressure rate 47% through week 4. Not a good time to have a struggling offensive line. April. Good morning, April. Wait a minute. Farsi, not sure everyone caught it, but Sunday we witnessed a weird slice of Eagles history. Braden Mann's minus 34-yard run, now officially the longest negative run in franchise history. Wow. That's amazing. I did not know that. It helps seal the game. That's great. You mentioned this yesterday, Sean, but let me get this in again. Pass blocking grade under 40, 56, just under 40, 56, 47.5, 40.5 last 4 weeks. That's terrible. O-line is absolutely banged up. They're trying to downplay it, but you can see it. Is there honestly not offensive line depth on a Jeff Stoutland offensive line? Like when the hell has that ever been a thing? Balling, not calling. That's funny. By the way, did you also notice it with Kevin Patullo? Did you notice he said there's 4 teams we've played, and then he talked about 3 of them being a problem, and the one team he didn't mention was the Cowboys? That was fun. Cousin. Darkwing Ducky, special teams has carried this team twice. Hopefully they can sustain it. I agree. Cousin says, luckily, Ringo, it's not a major opportunity. It's not a major opportunity cost. That's true. Or, operating cost. To have him out there since both cornerbacks ahead of him ain't much better. True. It's not like it's a huge drop-off to go to Ringo. I do agree with that. And I do hope it's an opportunity for him to take it. Sean Kilrain, NFL should force the Broncos and Eagles to wear their classic throwbacks for Sunday's game. That would be pretty awesome. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Coming up later today, Locked On 76ers, Keith Pompey and I. Don't miss it. And also Locked On Eagles Squad show will be at, what are we doing today? Noon today. Locked On Eagles. So catch me over there on the Locked On Eagles YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are fantastic. As per usual, we'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.